When you look into the past few years, have you seen a change in how journalism has been in the country? Like in a positive or a negative way? Have you seen any changes?
Positive, no negative. What negative is there in journalism? Nothing in negative. Everything is positive in journalism.
Okay.
Heavily biased, and it's not just been in the last 10 years that's what's happening. It was there before too, but right now the level of it is too high, so that's for sure.
Okay.
So that's why I'm not into the traditional media as of
Past media, if you talk about the reachability, the amount of news channels which have increased, the local news which have increased, it's a good change. But then, if you talk about the yellow journalism which is happening, fake news and falsifying of facts, that is bad. So, yeah, I would say it's in a grey area. You can't.
Answering the important question that we started off with, is journalism dead in India?
You want my take on it?
Yeah. In 2023, a survey was conducted which showed that social media was primarily used to access news media or news stories all over the country. 72% of news was consumed online, which is good because there is easier access to news, which means. But the problem is, the same source conducted another survey in the same year, and about only 17% of the news that we get on online or social media platforms are reliable or can be trusted, right? And the most reliable source of news still remains newspapers. So when you connect these two dots, you get into you very soon figure out the problem area, which is fake news or misinformation, which happens to be like one of the prominent problems in the country as of now.
Okay. See, but like Reuters report in 2023 regarding the digital news report, see, we can clearly see a shift in how people consume news in India. As in, like, primary source, like you said, is online news itself. But there is also again a preference there. Yes, people view it through social medias, but when we look at the preference rate, 28% only prefer social media for news reading, while still 12% prefer news direct sources like newspapers and traditional media. But then there is that question that arises, as in, like, why is there a shift currently? I mean, like, is there any significant factor that is leading to that shift in how people in India are consuming news in their daily life or in their general purpose, and how it comes up? And I think Jio has played a key role in that change.
True. Yeah. According to one of the sources that I've gotten online, 1 out of every 6 pieces of like news during COVID was fake or like was false. Yeah.
But I think we have to first of all differentiate what is misinformation and disinformation at that point. Like, misinformation, people often mistake what is misinformation, what is disinformation.
Yeah.
When we say misinformation, it is basically by mistakenly maybe quoting a statistics. For example, if I say India is in 161th rank in World Press Freedom Index, it is wrong.
Yeah.
India has come down. I mean, India has come up. It has been now at 159 this year. So yeah, it can happen by mistakenly. Maybe your sources might have got it wrong. So it can happen. Even with us discussing this report, there are possible chances where even we might, there is a possible chances where our sources might have been updated. So in the future time, what our information can become a misinformation as well.
True.
Right? Like during the passage of time, when news gets updated, when there is an updation of what is happening around us, certain news can be then proved that it is not right, it's false. So that can happen. Whereas disinformation is where you willingly or knowingly give a false statistics. For example, if I say that India is the poorest country in the world, or India has the worst press freedom world index, that is false.
True. Yeah, that's false.
Even even though I know it's not true, and I still say that statement just to promote something or raise a situation, raise tension among the community, okay, or defame the country India. That is entirely unethical, and that is disinformation or fake news, as we say. So we have to understand first those things. And the other thing, whenever we talk about journalism in India, is like recently this topic has come up a lot because the World Press Freedom Index. World Press Freedom Index is released by Reporters Without Borders organization.
Yeah.
It's a non-profit organization that mainly ensures that journalists in each of the country are working ethically. They have their safety precautions and they can work freely. So we have been come under like in the global
there,
aspect.
Thing showing how like reliable their sources are, like on what basis do they basically their credibility?
The credibility, of course, is very high. As in, like, they are an organization that has been working with the UNESCO and UN. As in, the UN consulted with the Reporters Without Borders organization. So, yes, it is a reputable source. It is a reputable organization. But their rankings over the years of like different countries and their press freedom index.
So basically, what they do is the press index is they put together a list of countries where press freedom is of most to least.
Yeah.
That's what the index is, right?
Yeah.
So do you have any information on how this ranking is done?
I think we have to discuss like what is the ranking. Like recently we have been under scrutiny. Like one side of the country is saying we have been so low in the ranking because of a certain party in the rule.
Yeah.
The other side is saying no, this statistics is wrong. Even in the global media, we have been portrayed as a country with little to no value for journalism sometimes. Because let's face the fact that press is the fourth pillar of democracy. That's what we learned in school, right? So an attack on press freedom means an attack on democracy in itself.
Yeah.
So it is a very critical issue to take. Now looking into the rankings, last year India was in 161.
161.
Okay, but this year we came 159. So we went up in ranking.
We went up in ranking. Okay.
But then, like you asked, how do they check their ranking? How do they come to this conclusion? So basically, what they do is they score each country in press freedom. It's a scoring from 0 to 100. Okay, there are different levels. Like if your scoring is from 85 to 100, that means you're doing good. Your press freedom is really well.
Okay.
You're doing good as a country in the press freedom index. 70 to 85, satisfactory. Okay, it is doing well enough. 70 below is when the problematic stage starts. Like 55 below 70. 55 to 70 is like problematic. 40 to 55 is very difficult. 0 to 40 is very serious.
Very serious.
Now, when we look at the scores, India's score is around 30 points now. It's in the lowest of the table.
That
very
sounds
serious.
Bad.
Yeah, that sounds bad. But the thing is, when we look at region specific as well, the Asia Pacific region is the second least in the rankings overall. Okay, so it's not just the situation of India. And I know how people have been saying India's ranking have come down a lot during this last 10 years because of a certain party. But India's ranking have been coming down gradually for the past 20 years. When we look at 2004 during the Manmohan Singh administration, it started out of 120. By the time in 2014 when the Pradhan Mantri Modi ji started, administration started, it was at 140. So in 10 years it went 20 ranks below. Now again 20 ranks below. So gradually,
if we try drawing a parallel, the 10 years that Manmohan Singh was in office and the 10 years that the current ruling party is in office, is the decline similar?
See, the thing is, if we plot it in a graph, yes, it shows a similar gradual decrease. Yeah, at points it have come up and then gone down, but like in an overall aspect it have been coming down. So like as for the past 20 years, is actually the press freedom going down in India? Now that's the question.
Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah,
which I think is interesting because back when Manmohan Singh was in office, right, there was a time where you could argue that maybe 10% of the country had access to internet. 5% of the country had the privilege to put out their opinion and like actually practice their freedom of speech and right to expression. Whereas I think now we are in a place where we have, if I'm not wrong, over 900 million active users on the internet. Currently top 1 or 2 globally in like mobile data usage or internet usage. Which means like when you give people a platform, like when people are given this internet, I feel gradually this one should have also grown, right? So is there a could you think of any possible reasons why the press freedom or like this thing is still remains the same, whereas like the internet users or the access to internet is keep going on increasing?
Like we discussed in the beginning, like with the access of internet, there is also now a concept called citizen journalism.
Citizen journalism.
That has widely been established right now. Like anyone can come up and report a news, which is good, very good. But of course, the facts, the sources, how credible they are, we are not sure of, because it's an individual, not an organization. See, the advantage of an organization or a traditional media, like let's say traditional newspaper media or a traditional media channel, would have over an individual is that they have a process of filtering out what is the right news, or is the sources. They will fact check the sources and then they publish the news. So of course, the traditional media plays a key role in that. And when we look at the current trends, we have seen that the consumption of news from traditional media also have lowered. Social media is much more conceived. See, when
it's a good thing that you brought up credibility and like news organization and how like traditional media is supposed to be a more reliable source, because on this level of trust in various news sources, again a survey done in 2023, only the most trusted source or like the most reliable information in say newspaper or like print media as a whole, 44% of the information that was printed are fully trustworthy and like fully 100% accurate, whereas the other major thing which is left, that is very questionable or like not dependable. Like it's not exactly given if it's completely wrong or like where it falls in that spectrum of like inaccuracy spectrum, but only 44% of the news that's given in print media is 100% accurate, which I feel is considerably low, considering newspapers in our country is considered the best and the most reliable source of information. Right. I wanted to bring up this organization, or I don't know if they're a media agency, but they're known as AltNews. I think if you Google them up, they're gonna it's basically a website. Right. So this was started off founded in 2017 by two guys. They just one day got together and like they looked into the how like there's a lot of fake news out there and like the misinformation and how like anyone can go out and claim anything that they want. So they started off this page which basically like looks into the viral tweets or like viral news trending stories or like any post on social media which claims something, and they fact check it, right? So I think for the most part, if you go on their page and you like scroll through, you can look at all the trending stories or all the any politician who's given a speech or any person who's made a tweet or like put out a social media post. They fact check it, they break it down, they analyze it, which I think is like a very good initiative, and I think it's like a I think this is something which everyone should refer to, like pages like AltNews. I'm not sure of more of these, but like this one came across me, and also I'd like to point out they were nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize in 2020, which is a really huge milestone considering they started in 2017. Such a short period of time, which shows the credibility of how well they're fact checking and how good they are at like essentially calling out the bullshit of news stories or like any story that is online.
Because we are aware if like there is a social media post saying some news, people often share it on their stories or as a post itself without even fact checking if it is true or not, or what is the source behind it, and we just share it. This happens quite a lot these days. I mean, even if we like go around Bangalore and just ask people, like just say random news stories and see if they believe it or not, it's quite evident there.
We should try doing that. We should come up with a bunch of fake news stories.
Ask people
just go around. Ask people just fake news stories. Just come up with like 5-6 random headlines. Go around, put a camera and a mic, and be like, your reaction to this headline, and let's see how many people actually react to it. How many people say I've never heard of this, and how many people are knowledgeable enough to like say, oh no, this is wrong, right? That'll be, I think that would be a very good experiment of some sort. Should we just come up with the questions right now? I mean Assuming you're familiar with Gautam Adani, the businessman.
Yes.
So after the Hindenburg research, he tried buying a news organization and he accidentally bought a lot of shares in Prega News. What is your reaction to this?
I heard that he thought Prega News was actually a news article, but it turned out to be a pregnancy report test.
Okay.
So I think it was a blunder that was done by Gautam Adani.
What do you think he should do with the stocks the stocks he has in Prega News now?
I guess he should just keep it because it might go up in the future.
Okay.
I don't have any reaction. I cannot say anything I don't have anything to say.
Okay.
I don't know.
Huh?
I'm literally, surprised, I would say.
Yes. Even I heard about that news. That is kind of pregnancy kit, right?
Pregnancy kit, yeah.
Yeah, we do agree.
Okay. What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, basically it's a kind of, how to say that? It's a kind of misunderstanding only. He is not aware about, he is a multimillionaire, he is a second most billionaire in the world, right? I think so.
He was at one point.
Yeah. Now, he is going to buy but he is about to buy a news channel, right?
Yeah.
By mistakenly buy a pregnancy kit.
What do you think he should do with the stocks?
What he is able to do? Nothing. It's a kind of loss only.
Okay.
It's all our money, right?
Yeah. So Indian banks are going to put out limited edition notes, multicolor rainbow theme notes to celebrate Pride Month. What do you think about that?
Celebrate?
Pride Month.
Okay. No, not acceptable.
Not acceptable.
Yes. Okay. This only one printed edition is also is a completely complaints. Many complaints there. And suppose you want to do that multi thoughts, will complain this more. A lot of cheating is possible. So that is not acceptable.
Okay.
Yeah, what to say? The government is buying everything, right?
Yeah.
And now also, yesterday also the new government has came up with, and they have bought the system with the money.
Yeah.
So they are making money and they're printing money, so they can do anything with that, right?
Yeah.
We are just poor citizens. It is our fault we are electing them, right? That's all. Yeah.
Do you have any reaction to this?
Actually, Gen Zs are more attracted towards the pride and LGBTQ, and they're the youth. So it's the kind of scheme to attract the youth of a country and just spread and marketing kind of strategy like that.
Familiar with Donald Trump?
Yes.
He got re-elected, and to celebrate, he put his face on $100 bills. What do you think about that?
He is such an weirdo. We know that thing from before, and nothing surprised about that exactly.
Okay.
Since it is Donald, yeah.
That I don't find it why to put his face on the note, right?
Okay.
So I don't find it valid. It's not valid.
Okay.
And American President Trump is in American country also same replying all news channels. It's a playboy. I think it's very shame.
It's shameful.
Yes. Okay.
See, he's a businessman, man.
Okay.
So we used to say in Hindi, right? Paisa badana hai, paisa chapna hai. वो पैसा छाप रहा है. So it's his interest, right?
Okay.
But yeah, it's all about the government thing. They have to decide, they have to pass the bill. Lincoln का photo आता है उसमें, right? So it's totally up to them.
Yeah.
No comments on that.
Bihar's literacy rate exceeding Kerala's.
I'm so sorry. No offense.
Oh, not possible. Never.
Not possible.
Yeah, never.
Yeah.
Then I think there'll be cheating in exams or something like that. Yeah, it'll be something.
There is some kind of fraud going on. I don't think
I think we all know why it's more than Kerala.
Could you give a reason or two about it?
Obviously we all know how they rigged the exams and all. So
Okay.
Kerala's literacy rate is completely funny, bro. Their literacy rate is calculating. If they are able to write their name in English, means they are literated. That literacy rate is completely funny. About to me, that calculation of literacy rate must be in different position, I guess.
We were discussing. I think the last thing we were talking is one of the last things you brought up was the ranking criteria.
Yeah.
If I'm not wrong, can we discuss that? If you could share what the ranking criteria is.
Oh, okay.
and
So
break it
like
down a little bit.
how it is ranked, as in I remember first time I searched in Google like why is India's press freedom very low and how is it ranked, and when I checked how is it ranked, second one was a Quora website, and I'm sure like in Quora it's like some individual will put up their answers, so I can't like blindly follow, but I just wanted to, for the curiosity of it, I just found an engineer's reply saying if you are a leftist and if you present left news you will get good score. If you are a rightist, if you are conservative, you are not going to get any score. That's why America is on the top, India is in the bottom. But all of those are false. When I fact checked it, America is not on the top, and America is not even on top 10 actually in the rankings. India is not the worst as well. But then we have to discuss, does the ranking actually matter? Because how do these people rank? Like why is our country so low in press freedom? Because we are aware like our media personalities are really strong. Our media can ask the question that is relevant. There are personalities who can do that, who are capable of doing that as well. It's not that we are not below certain dictatorships and certain monarchies. I mean,
no, clearly like
there's some level
lack
of
of personnel is not the reason for this, because I think we personally can vouch for, like, based on like the people, journalists we have interacted with, and based on like the internships we have done, we personally can vouch for like really exceptional journalists who are incredibly good at what they do and who genuinely care about what they do. So lack of talent or lack of personnel is not the reason
behind
it's behind it.
I mean, I think while doing the internship in a certain media organization, you came across the journalist. What was it?
One of the
journalists that you have come across, and you have shared me his story, how he had covered the situation in Bangalore International Airport as well as in BBMP office, and how it has created such a change. They have had to change their policy. They have given better nature of workforce for the people who's working there, and there are journalists who actually do their work in a way that there has been a change. So it's not like we are bad at journalism or our country is bad at journalism.
Another person I feel like I should mention is, you know her, like, I'm not going to mention her name, and I think it's better if you bleep out even the name which you mentioned for obvious reasons. We both had a conversation with her, and we spoke about, she covered a news story, or she covered a story where in a urban part, in a rural part in Bangalore, outskirts of Bangalore, there was a place where like the road conditions were very bad. People couldn't even walk into their houses. She reported that, and she reported it in such a way, and she had a follow-up news article, and she called out the exact people who are responsible for it, and it resulted in, within 3 months, if I'm not wrong, they ended up getting like a really good conditioned roads. The roads were fixed, and this was not during election time. This was not during one of those times where like government workers suddenly remembered that, oh, we also have work to do. This was out of nowhere, in the out of the blue. They just went and fixed it. So I think that is a testament to like what journalism can accomplish, right? Because you were with me when she showed us the pictures of like the people who contacted her, thanking her for like the help, the way she's helped them out. I think, and journalism actually works. That's the point I'm trying to make.
So like talking about the scoring, like how the ranking is based, I said the 0 to 100 scoring. See, there are two things they mainly consider. First one is the quantitative abuses against journalists. When I say quantitative, let's say detention, killing, putting in jail, all that comes under the quantitative. So these are only the numbers that are considered from arrests or attacks or killings due to their journalistic activity. So if it is proven that it is because of their journalistic activity, they count those numbers.
Wait, I just want to understand this. So say for example, there's a journalist, and he or she is covering a very, sensitive news topic. Right, and there is threats made against them, public threats. People have gotten in touch with them, right? And one day, say they're in their apartment, someone breaks into their house and kills them, right? Now, the only way this is considered in this index is if the killer is found and it's proven that this person is associated to the person who gave the threats or the person she's reporting against. Whereas on a whole, you cannot just claim that
journalist is
this
killed.
is possibly the reason. Although, while obviously, like when the police does a thing, this is going to be the primary source. So, like, this is going to be the primary suspect, or whatever. That's the right way to word it.
Okay.
But these people don't consider it unless it's proof.
Yeah, as in like if it is through their because of their work, then they count it. If let's say if a journalist dies due to an accident, they don't have to count that. It's not a threat against the journalist or the journalism field. Because it's a natural cause of death. Maybe like an accident happened. We cannot control that. So that is one way. The other thing is they actually have a questionnaire. Okay, so they give this questionnaire to press freedom specialist. Now the thing is, see, press freedom specialists, they in their reports they mention press freedom specialists that include journalists, researchers, academics, and human rights actors. But they don't mention who these people are, where they are from, or any details about that. And in this questionnaire, basically what happens is there are 5 criteria that they look into. The 5 criteria are: one is political context. When I say political context, they are trying to understand like how much support is the press of a country receiving from their politicians or from the politics of the country. As in like is the politicians getting involved, causing an issue to the journalists. Okay, all that aspect in political. When I say the next one is legal framework. Legal framework basically means how is the law for the journalists.
Okay.
Is there any particular law that states that protects the journalists, or is there any particular law that restricts the journalists? They are looking into that. That's the second. The third is economic context. The how easy it is to set up a media organization. Let's say how easy to set up a news media. How easy it is to connect with advertisers, and in economic constraint, does economic constraint come into restricting the media publishing their news? All that aspect. Socio-cultural context, how if there is a, let's say when communal violence is happening, how much it affects the media. That is one context of working. So as a country, of course, we have always been in that situation. There are some tensions in certain parts of the country. We have to accept it. Okay, that is the ground reality. Then the last aspect is safety again. Safety, basically there are 12 questions on the safety score and 1 abuse score on that.
But safety of the journalist.
Safety of the journalist.
Okay.
But we have to understand, see, these are questionnaires given to individuals. There will be biases.
The questionnaires are given to specialists, like news specialists.
News specialists.
What was the term you mentioned? News specialists.
Yeah, press freedom specialists.
Press freedom specialists.
Yeah.
But these press freedom specialists are anonymous people who these people claim to be credible, or like the sources they trust.
Yeah. So see, it could be, yes, as Reporters Without Borders is an organization that is credible. Of course, they will select people who are credible as well. But we have to understand, like when News Laundry, a reputable news source, contacted Reporters Without Borders asking for how many people actually assess each country's scores.
Yeah.
They mentioned that 10 people is given questionnaire for a certain country. Means 10 people decide what is the press freedom index of the country is.
But do you think that's a fair way to assess it? Because say for example you are comparing the press freedom of a country like Australia or a country like Greenland, which is significantly smaller than say India. A country like India.
Yeah.
So over there 10 people voting on it, or 10 people talking about it, wouldn't be the same as 10 people from India, right? Because in India, even we have more states and more union territories than that.
Yeah.
Right. So at least I don't think there is one person who is knowledgeable. Of course, there are people who are like very
of course,
good at, I'm not questioning that. But one person who has like that place where like say like they relate to the problems, they relate and they understand the problems that people at the ground level face, like the people at the lowest of the hierarchy, people at the like bottom of the table. There isn't one person who understands that for every single part of the country. That is not possible, right? Because of course you have knowledge, you can be aware of it, but you can't relate and understand.
Yeah, and the other thing is, see, 10 individuals who have their own perception, who have their own biases, and it's just a questionnaire with 5 options. It's like having an MCQ exam. How can you say that a country's present freedom index is in this level because these 10 people give, see, I'm not fully criticizing them. Of course, they will have academics who are completely knowledgeable, who have scholars itself. But personally, it's my own perspective, it's my own opinion that we cannot completely rely on the ranking to say the entire true story of what the press freedom is in the country. See, yes, there have been there have been instances where press have been attacked. When we look at like for example, a case study is Siddique Kappan, a journalist from Kerala, who have been arrested under UAPA. So he was in custody for almost 2 years.
What is UIPM?
UAPA is the full UAPA.
UAPA.
Okay, so UAPA is a law that was brought for preventing unlawful activities. As in, like, if the government suspects that, if let's say, for example, the government suspects that a certain person might be connected to a terrorist. Of course, for the national security, the government have to take an action. They can't wait until that person takes an action, does something to the country or cause a situation. So they will have to arrest them. Even if it is the minimum evidence, they will have to arrest them. So that is what UAPA is, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. Okay, basically. But over the years, when we look into it, a lot of journalists, a lot of activists have been arrested under the UAPA. And a lot of people, when we look into it, there are two sides of the story. When we look at in the police charge sheets, it's saying that okay, they have given their own reasons. But when we look into the other side, where the medias have reported, like for example, even News Laundry itself, Quint or Beetroot, and others who have reported on the news stories that have covered like the criminal cases behind Siddique Kappan, for example, it was not proven. And then he was left free after almost over 2 years. So he was in during the COVID time. He was there in the jail. So yeah, there is like the ranking is worse, but I personally don't believe the ranking gives a complete picture of what the press freedom is in the country, because as a country we are still strong. We are still a democratic country.
But I feel for a country like India, the press freedom index, should be assessed differently for different parts of the country. Right? So let's say right now we're in Bangalore, right? Shooting this episode, like we're shooting this here, and over here we have the freedom to talk. Let's say, for example, in another place, in a rural part of the country, we possibly wouldn't be allowed to do the same thing or make the same statements over here. So I feel like ranking it as a whole, as a country, is also not a fair thing. Cause like,
also the other thing is how the news is received. Like, yeah, like you said, a metropolitan city like Bangalore can receive wide range of news from wide range of sources, like social media mostly or online other sources. Whereas in a rural setting in a remote area, it might be a bit more difficult to get it through, let's say, like a social media post or online sources. Of course, it has improved over the years, but still they might still consider traditional news channels and newspaper media as the most trustful, and they might only use that source.
This reminds me, I want to circle back to something you mentioned in the beginning when we started talking, Jio, which came, and I don't remember the exact year.
2016, I believe.
2016, 2017, it came around that time. Before Jio came into existence, I think India was 155 in this was that number of people who use internet.
Okay.
Globally.
155 million?
155 ranked.
Ranked,
155th rank.
Okay.
And now it's in the top 1 or 2.
Okay.
Right. Do you think this has, like you mentioned, this has a lot to do with fake news, but this also has a lot to do with news reaching people, right?
I think when we discuss, like when we have asked to people, like what do they see about the journalism, like how do they view journalism in India, the current status of journalism, they see it in a positive manner. Jio coming to the forefront and giving access to a lot more Indians, to the internet.
No, of course, that point of view is positive.
Yeah.
Right. If you remember, before we started like researching for this episode, we did a survey where we went out to Church Street and we just asked random people the question, which is the title of our episode, is journalism dead in India? Right. And one of the answers, everyone who said no, it's not dead, the answer that they had, like the people who had a legitimate argument against it, one of the main points were we live in a time where news is delivered to every single part of the country, which is absolutely true. Right. So and I think the one of the main reasons for that is like Jio, because they put out this free internet or like very cheap internet scheme, which other companies and other
countries
people,
also were not able to.
Countries, everyone had to match that, everyone had to drop down to that, and like everyone had to give that. And like currently, I think being in India, we don't realize this, but like when we talk to our friends who live outside,
where
something as simple as like
2GB internet is way costly for them.
Like we look at 100 Mbps of internet as it's just something.
Like 10 minutes thing.
10 minutes, yeah. Because like one call and like they're gonna upgrade my internet speed. It's as simple as that. Or say something like UPI. That's another thing I feel we take for granted, because like there are places like if you look into like TikTok, which is banned, but like when you if you look into the content that's created, there are many pages which cover like a futuristic story talking about how like there are countries in like Europe which got like wireless transactions and they cover that as like this particular place is living like 20 years in the future.
Okay.
Right, so I think so that should put into perspective how much Jio and like how much internet has done for us.
Yeah, but the other thing is like when we say about Jio has also pushed citizen journalism, like I said. But like citizen journalism in itself is now taken as a major part of journalism, right? But we have to look into the other side as like, okay,
can you differentiate what citizen journalist is and what an independent journalist is?
It's both similar, I believe. As in like a citizen journalist or an independent journalist is someone who is not affiliated to any organization. Okay, they are not part of any media organization. They are working as an individual itself. Like let's say a freelance worker. It would be the easiest term for people to understand. A freelance journalist. That would be a citizen journalist or an individual journalist who's coming up. Like we have seen a great shift from traditional, now people shifting from the traditional news media, like the reporters itself. Yeah, like grand names, like I think you have to name.
I have like the main names are Ravish Kumar and Sohit Mishra, who are like the face of NDTV.
Yeah.
And I think this happened right after Adani acquired 65% stake in NDTV, right?
Yeah.
And they were not the only two people who left. There were other people who left as well.
Yeah.
There's another show which 3 journalists from NDTV got together and created, or a show or like a YouTube page which they created, right? And I feel this is another trend which we're seeing, which I think this should be taken into consideration very seriously, right? Because we already live in a country where approximately, I'd say 80 to 90% of the country's wealth is owned by the top 1%, top 4%, 3-4%. Right? I'm not sure about the statistics, but like that's the approximate.
I can check it.
Yeah, you can look it up.
Yeah.
So I think when we live in a country,
40% of the wealth is held by the richest 1%.
Richest 1%.
Which is huge. 40% of India's wealth is not a small number.
Yeah.
And so the disparity is huge, like you said. Yeah. And when we look into the report of India, like in that Press Freedom Index itself, in India's report, the organization records that 70 media outlets are owned by one person in the country.
Yes.
Okay, more than 70 media outlets are owned by one person, which these 70 media outlets are followed by at least 800 million Indians.
800 million Indians, yeah.
So an individual has that much power. As in, when I say one, it's not like that he owns the entire thing.
But they have the influence on.
Yeah.
They have the ability to influence 800 million people with a single
source or a perspective or whatever they wanted to. So that is one reason why in Reporters Without Borders, India's score has come down a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, as in like in the political context, when they look 70%, like 70 media outlets owning by one person and another media majorly taken by another person.
Right.
All this makes like they have given the term unofficial state of emergency. India is in a condition called unofficial state of emergency by the Reporters Without Borders. So we have to take that into consideration. The other thing
is why I feel I think citizenship journalism and independent journalism, although it's like the credibility is very questionable for the most part, I think it's like very essential and
important as well
to keep the journalists going, because this trend of like wealthy business tycoons or like industrialists owning huge stakes in media, it's not a trend which we've recently seen, right? Like we were asked not to like bring up the name of this particular family, but what we can say is a member of the family is allegedly caused a road accident because by reckless driving or drunk driving or maybe both, and 1 or 2 people were possibly killed by that. Right? If you see the following 2-3 weeks of like the business side of their family, they acquired stakes in like major media sources in major news channel organizations, newspapers, and all this, right? So what this says is possibly a person can use this big of a platform, this big of a field to protect themselves. So basically, when you said like one person owns sources which which can like reach 800 million people.
yeah.
So what we're essentially saying is there are 800 million people who can be influenced by his PR team.
Yeah.
That's essentially what we're saying, right? And like I said, we were very strongly suggested not to bring up the names of these people, this particular family, because that will land us in trouble, and we don't want our careers to end before it starts.
For a first episode, it's not a thing we have to bring up.
But what I can say is there was a movie put out by Sunny Deol in 2015, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And the movie, I think, is called Gayal Once Again. It was supposedly inspired by this incident.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, right? Allegedly, supposedly, hypothetically.
I'm just saving our lives right now. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Okay. See, the other thing is like when you're talking about citizen journalism, for that to happen, internet should be there, right?
Yeah.
But in 2023, India records highest number of internet shutdowns globally. This is a report by The Hindu.
Oh, okay.
So, like being the largest democracy in the world, and internet being a medium of communication, and being in the top of most internet shutdown does not look good in our reputation, to be honest. True. And the reasons behind the internet shutdowns given were due to ethnic violence. Okay, exams were given as committed during the ethnic violence have gone viral. So there have been other cases where mostly this has happened in Manipur and Punjab. 64 shutdowns happening in more than one district of the same states. So
that's
yeah,
actually an interesting stat, right? Because we talk about like democracy and like how like media is the fourth pillar of democracy, press is the fourth pillar of democracy and all that. But we live in a country which is like very interesting, right? Because parts of our country is extremly democratic. Everyone can do what they want, and like
raise
the
your
people
voice.
hold their power, and there are people who are well educated enough to like go out and question someone and question people in power, saying this is my right, this is what I deserve, right? But then there are also parts of our country which feel like they are under a dictatorship since the beginning of time, right? Which I think is a very interesting thing to look at.
Yeah, because like last year itself, they are saying the report states 13 states and union territories had imposed shutdowns. And now, like, see, looking into the condition, as a citizen of the country, we can't blindly say India is not a democratic country.
Yeah.
Of course, we do. If we are having this conversation, that means we are enjoying democracy, right? If we have the opportunity to, let's say, post this video. If this video is out there, if you're watching it, means we are doing good.
The state of the country depends on our video.
Of course, the state of the democracy does not depend on this table and laptop, but there are much more instances where we have to consider.
You don't have to be that politically correct also. But answering the important question that we started off with, is journalism dead in India?
You want my take on it?
Yeah. First you go and then I'll give my perspective.
Okay, so to conclude, India globally viewed in an objective way as being in the one of the lowest ranked countries in press freedom. I fully do not accept that ranking. But also as a citizen who is been following news from both traditional media as well as independent journalists and citizen journalists, I have understood that there are times when, of course, we cannot deny there is an influence of certain individuals on the media landscape, and it can happen even in individual journalism, not only in traditional media. Okay, I've seen individual journalists who are like freelance workers or like, let's say, citizen journalists. They are also being influenced by certain individuals. There may be like sponsorship or ad revenue or whatever we can say. So yes, the country has been having a rough patch here and there, but we cannot say that India has fully lost its journalism. The journalism is dead in India. No, never. I never believe in that. There are prominent journalists who are working to cover the entire story in the most truthful manner that I believe in, and that is a country I'm looking forward to working with as well, as in like as a journalism graduate, both of us.
Yeah.
So if we are looking forward to working.
Results
now.
haven't come out yet. We'll let you all know. Sorry,
So I will
continue.
pass. Okay. So as a journalism graduate and someone who has done few internships here and there and who have understood the industry, it is there are instances where our organization that we have worked with would not want us to cover certain news, not because it's very tensed or
Not because it's not newsworthy, but
because
it's
it
not.
won't create ad revenue much.
Yeah.
So it is understandable. To bread and butter of news media is right now ad revenue. So to have that, to have more viewership, we need stories which are a little more saucy as well. So we have to work accordingly,
Catering our audience.
catering to the audience
Yeah.
basically. So no, I don't believe journalism is dead in India. The ranking, well, that's an objective way of them looking in a certain perspective. I don't fully condone, because a questionnaire with 10 people assessing assessing the 10 people's response cannot fully rank the country. What do you think?
So I want to first bring up this interesting thing that happened. So before starting this episode, I think I've mentioned it earlier. I was out in Church Street asking people the question, do you think journalism is dead in India? Right? We put out a chart, we just left it over there, and the guy walked up to me and he started talking about it.
Okay.
We were just talking about like this freedom of speech. We were talking about like how the country, the politics, his personal opinion. We both disagreed.
Yeah, okay.
He was extreme right, this one, but he was a well educated.
So you are
person.
extreme left. I'm just kidding. Okay.
cut.
Okay.
I am the editor. I'm talking to myself. Yeah. So what I said is, like, in the end, I asked him. I'm like, what's your opinion on it? Do you think journalism is dead in India?
Okay.
And he, in a very funny way, his response was, he's like, no, bro, but it's an ICU. Okay. Which at that moment, I'm like, the hell is he talking about, right? But when you break it down and think about it,
Yeah, okay.
we are in a transition period, right? We are in a place where, like, we're questioning the future of democracy, right?
Yeah.
But we're also looking into the past, we're looking into the future, we're assessing where we are at now. And I feel there's two sides to this, right?
Yeah.
One is things like these, the rankings, the internet shutdowns, the journalists who get fired, or the journalists who quit because of certain reasons, getting arrested, getting killed, all of these things. I think we consider that as bad. And then
I don't think we consider. I think the whole world considers that as bad.
on a general scale.
On a general scale,
yeah.
Or not only journalists, anyone dying is bad.
Anyone.
Let's just clear that out.
That's another episode.
I'm not there for that episode. Okay.
Yeah, but on the positive side, right? Because
Yeah.
we have seen news reach more number of people than it ever has. We have seen more number of people have an opinion than they ever have.
Okay.
Which I'm not saying is necessarily like a really good thing, but it does fall under the thing of, like, we have the opportunity to exercise our freedom of speech on a platform that a lot of people have, can agree with you, disagree with you, support you, and all that, right? And I think the best example of this is there was a car accident in Pune. Another businessman's son, speeding there. You know what?
It's a prominent case where the 17-year-old who was
17-year-old was
allegedly
killed,
drunk.
right.
And
And the court in Pune gives the verdict saying that, like, the person who, like, crashed the car and killed these people is not guilty, and as a punishment he has to write a 300-word essay to get out of jail.
300-word essay.
300-word essay to
Get
get out of jail.
college, we wrote more than that.
Yeah, which I was a little pissed at.
Yeah.
Because when I did my internship, I had to submit a 500-word report every day for news stories. Okay.
That was also for free.
That's
We didn't get paid.
Yeah. So 300-word essay, and the internet lost its shit, right? Everyone went online, complained about it, made it viral.
And I think that has made an influence also.
That has made an influence, whereas the court took back their verdict. Now they've not only detained the kid, but they've also detained the dad.
And the
because
grandfather also.
the kid is a 17-year-old who was drunk driving.
Yeah.
Right. Drunk driving or Porsche, which is 1 month
Which
old.
Indian dad gives it a Porsche?
1 month old.
Okay,
right?
let's not divert from the Porsche.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So what do I think? Do I think journalism is dead in India?
Yeah.
Parts of it, yes.
Okay.
Do I think journalism is effective in India? Yes.
Okay.
I feel we are at a point where, like, what people like you and me, sitting in a random park, in front of a laptop, in front of a notebook, discussing these things.
Random park, press club, macha.
Press club. Yeah, I think it is up to us, right?
Yeah.
It's up to us to decide whether journalism is gonna be dead in India or not.
Up to us.
It's up to us as like a whole, right?
Citizen.
As
a citizen, yeah.
Not up to you and me.
Yeah. We are not that.
Yeah. So, how do we conclude this episode?
I think both of us are coming into the middle ground where we both believe it's not completely dead in India, but there are certain aspects where we could improve.
Where we desperately need to improve.
Like, and the key point would be fact checking the information that we are getting, like lowering the spread of misinformation or disinformation, especially WhatsApp University have to be like stopped, or like even if you are like forwarding a message through your WhatsApp University, please confirm it. News, like check if the source is credible, check if the news is reported by credible sources, and then okay, you can share. So yeah, that's all I think.
Yep, we have officially crossed our targeted 20 minutes by a lot because we are closing in on 50 minutes.
Okay.
So I think this is a good end to the first episode. Good job.
Yeah.